Alrighty, I have head coach Pat Hallmark with me for his weekly press conference. We just finished off a weekend series against UAB, winning two of three of those games. Looking forward to traveling up to Kansas to take on Wichita State. Coach, if you want to start us off with an opening statement.
Yeah, it was. You go on the road and you win 2 out of 3. You should be proud of that. So we are. Not happy with the way the eighth inning, the bottom eighth inning played out, but left a bad taste in our mouths. But maybe that can motivate us. Hopefully so.
Coach, you have kind of stuck with the same three starters. Kind of just how easy does that make your job if you can kind of just rely on those three guys week in and week out?
Yeah, it's one less decision or potentially 3 less decisions, as long as those guys are pitching well, which Braylon didn't pitch well Saturday, so we got to work on a few things. But, yeah, for the most part, the starting pitching has been very reliable, and it does make my job a little bit easier when you don't have to figure out who to start.
We're entering this part of the season where people start paying attention to RPI. I want to just we've had a tough schedule. How much does that play a part when you are building schedules and scheduling these teams like Texas and Texas A&M, TCU and Baylor?
Yeah,
do you incorporate that in your mind?
Specific to RPI or just a tough schedule in general?
Specific to RPI.
Yeah, we're aware of it. I guess I came up as an assistant coach under a head coach he looked at the RPI. That's the first thing he did. Wayne Graham, when he got to the office back in those days, I coached for him at Rice. Not when I played for him, I don't think. But that's the first thing he looked at was the RPI. So it's definitely on our minds when we build the schedule. The most challenging part for us in building that schedule is getting the good teams to play us. It's hard to get them here. The Power 5 teams don't like to leave home, and then they really don't like to leave home and play in a facility unless it's a pretty nice facility. So it's hard to get them here, but a lot of them will schedule us at their place. So we try to do that as much as we can. I wish every Tuesday we could play a Power 5 team. Within a 3 to 3.5 hour drive. I don't want our student athletes getting back too much after midnight. It's a grind the next day, getting up and going to class and practicing and lifting. So you take it all into consideration, but the RPI is always on my mind, yes.
Catcher Andrew Stuckey has certainly showed up both behind the plate and, at the plate hitting. What kind of impact does that have to have a catcher that you can rely on in all aspects of the game?
He's become a wonderful piece of this thing. We got so many wonderful players and people in our lineup and in the program. I'm so blessed to get to coach these guys, and Stu's one of them. But yeah, his play is just really, really good as of late. His run production at the plate, both driving the runs in and scoring the runs, his on-base percentage is incredibly high. It's closer to 500 now, I think, than 400. He's just been a really good player, real steady, very intense. He doesn't say much, but Andrew's way more intense than I realized early on last season. I kind of learned it by the end of last year, but he's a very intense individual, and that's fine. We like that. So we just got to make sure he doesn't get too pissed off at umpires, but I know how that is. So, but no, we're lucky we have him, and he's having a great year.
The bullpen kind of continues to shine for us this year. Is that just kind of right in the hot hand that you kind of lean on, or do you take into account pitching matchups with righty-lefty or anything like that? What's kind of your thought process when picking who's coming in when?
We certainly try to consider it all as coaches. We're preparing each week. That's what we start today. We just start to prepare for the matchups and look at the other team's hitters and maybe what they do well. Sometimes it's lefty righty. Sometimes it's the type of swing. Dewar is one of the big hitters for FAU, has a very steep swing, and it was rather odd. I took out he's left-handed, just to give you an example, and we had Cawthorn in, and he was coming up to bat last week, and I actually took the lefty out to go to the righty because Cawthorn doesn't have a real depthy breaking ball. It's more of a sweeping breaking ball. So we're always looking for the favorable matchup. It doesn't always mean lefty-righty, but sometimes it does. So type of pitch we have versus type of swing they have definitely plays a role in that. Lefty-righty plays a role. And, of course, people like Rob that are just very reliable, that just have real plus stuff. Rob just beats people because the stuff is really good. So sometimes the matchup doesn't play into your mind quite as much. But, of course, Rob needs to be rested. That second game Saturday, he wasn't rested, so I was hesitant to use him, and he didn't throw as well. The little bit I left him in there, I think he's just pretty stiff from pitching earlier in the day. So the availability of the arm, the rest of the arm, is certainly a factor as well.
I think that'll wrap up our weekly press conference. Thanks, Coach, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys.